Well, the Nashville Predators fall to 0-3 after last night's loss to the Seattle Kraken. On today's Locked On Predators, we're going to share our one word to describe the 7-3 loss. We're going to talk problems and solutions as well.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Maybe a little less happy than we would like it to be if you're a Nashville Predators fan, but we do want to welcome you to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this episode welcoming any first-time listeners, and of course, giving that shout out to our everydayers and to our Locked On Predators insiders. We appreciate your support. We love talking Nashville Predators hockey with you most days. We'll see how today feels as we go through this episode. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Well, Emma, there it was. The Predators started off 0-2 and then hosted Seattle last night. And we thought maybe this is going to be where some things come together. It was not to be, friends. The Nashville Predators lost by a score of 7-3 on today's show. We're going to talk about that loss. We are going to talk about the problems that we see. And Emma and I are problem solvers. We're also going to talk about some solutions. Before we dive into all of that, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, Emma, again, I think, if people are watching this on YouTube, one of these things is not like the other. You again covered the game live. I had another game I got to watch at home, which was really good because I have to tell you, it was excruciating sitting at home watching the third period on my couch with my dogs and my snacks. How fun was it there at Bridgestone?
Honestly, I wish I had dogs and snacks because it was not that fun. I'll tell you. It was not a fun one. I will admit I watched the third period from ice level downstairs in the media room because I was cold and sad. So I had to go warm up. It was one of those games.
Yeah. Wanting dogs and snacks is just my natural state.
Well, same.
But especially tonight. Tonight was extra. Of course, the Predators again went down early. They were down 2-0, came back to tie it up 2-2, went down by another goal, tied it back up. We're thinking this is not so bad going into the third period, tied up 3-3. And then Seattle scored 4 goals in the third period. It was 20 minutes of excruciating hockey. I could break down stats and numbers for you, but just trust us when we say that was a really rough 20 in a game that didn't have a lot of pretty in it to start with. So Emma, of course, we always break down games and game recaps with one word to describe the game. Do you have a good one word that you want to use?
Well, I have several words, and you will
hear them
all.
Do I need to hit the dump button?
Also, it'll be a word with a punctuation mark, and the punctuation is key here. So I'm going to go with defense ? Because it seemed to be defense optional for the Predators against the Kraken. So that is my one word.
Yeah. My one word is inches and miles, which I know is 3 words, but again, our podcast, our rules.
Yeah.
This was a game that showed you when you give a team an inch, they will take a mile. And it does not even have to be a cup contending team. And I mean no slight to Seattle when I say that. I'm saying in the game of hockey at the NHL level, if you are going to continually make mistakes and give an inch, your opponent is going to take a mile. And a mile is how you end up with a final score of 7-3. We, of course, always reach out to our Locked On Predators insiders after a game and ask for their one word to describe the game. And I love this interaction with our insiders because you all, first of all, you all are so good at sticking to the one word rule. And I love that. But
a lot better than we are.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If you're an insider, you can break the rule too. We're not going to, there's zero judgment here. Dustin said his one word is pessimistically optimistic. And I thought, yeah, just when it feels like the offense gets going, the defense drops the ball and falls apart. Does say the bright side of this is when the two parts of the game meet, it should make for a really good team. We're just not there yet. Corey's one word, this is hyphenated, so gets bonus points for one word, over aggressive, which I think is a fantastic one word, especially for a couple of those goals. Way over aggressive. Henry, a new insider, one word, all caps, slow. Matt said, oh, and bless Matt. Matt said, back on the rebuild train. Matt said, sorry for this take. Emotions are high. Talk me off the ledge. This team is not playing well at all. Matt, just remember feelings are like farts. They're indicators of something, but they may not always mean what you think they do. But here's the thing. I think the emotions are high. I think the feelings are rough. And yes, this is only the third game of the season, but this game felt particularly hard to watch, I think, Emma. This one felt worse than the first two losses. Why is that?
You know, it did. I think the first two, and we talked about this, that there was a lot of good. You saw a lot of good that was kind of under the surface there. And, you know, they were creating the chances. They just weren't quite finishing. But it's like you could see it was there. It just wasn't fully cooked yet, like we've talked about. And then this one, it was like, oh, it's not even there. There, you know, it was this team. It looked like they've never played together before. And, you know, part of that is, as we talked about on yesterday's show, the combinations, the line, the different forward line combinations that Andrew Brunette's trying out just to try and get a spark, which, like, I'm glad he said this post game after the Seattle game, because it was like, we've all kind of been thinking it, and I'm glad he said it. He goes, maybe it's too much. Maybe it's too much shuffling. And it's like, oh, Bruno might be onto something there.
Let's chew on that overnight, Bruno.
I think, you know, changing the lines is not in itself a bad thing, and doing it, you know, frequently enough to try and, you know, find what works is not a bad thing. But if you're going to do it that often within a game, it does start to be like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, Juuso Parssinen had like one shift the whole third period, I feel like, which meant that we were getting all kinds of different combinations. You know, Forsberg was with Stamkos and Marchessault at different points. You know, I think the best line, and Andrew Brunette said the best line, was Tommy Novak, Luke Evangelista, and Mark Jankowski. Those guys look good together. And they look good together last year too, so that's not altogether surprising. But you know, the forwards, to me, even though yes, it all looked very kind of bungled. It was a lot of it was just a lot of, like, the passes weren't crisp, they weren't clean, they were overshooting each other a lot. It looked like they couldn't really maintain control of the puck. It's like they would get it, but then they couldn't maintain control of it. And then it was still a lot of what we were talking about yesterday with, they're trying to get too cute. They're trying to get cute and make the perfect play. And it's like, no, it's not going to work like that. And I think that Andrew Brunette acknowledged that as well post game and said, look, we're, you know, we're trying to show off how skilled we are, but we're not actually trying to, put in the work, which how many times have we heard that from him? And so I think that, after a game like this, you can go one of two ways. Again, keeping in mind, it's game 3. So
Fair.
of
It's
82.
game 3.
So however, this is one of those where it's like much more so than the other two. This one feels a little bit like, okay, you can't, those first 2 games, even though you lost, you can walk away being pretty proud of, the effort that you put forth. This one, and it's like this, you're going to go one of 2 ways. It's like you're going to use this as a springboard into something bigger and something better, or you're just going to continue the skid. And I think that, again, covered enough hockey in my time to know that game 3 is still way too early to be panicking. But that also doesn't excuse the fact that this was not a good showing by the Predators.
Yes. One of our insiders is absolutely hitting on what you're saying. The one word was regression. This team is supposed to be getting better, but tonight it somehow looked like it was getting worse. And this almost feels like that first red flag when you start dating someone where, like, I don't know, they belch, or they call their
They
mom some sort of weird pet name or something. I
they
don't
don't
know.
hold the door for you or
They don't
something.
hold the door,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is of note.
Yes.
And
You're like,
it could be troubling long term. I'm gonna file it away and just say, "Hey, this may be a pink flag." And I think tonight's game is a pink flag. And then you gotta kinda watch it and go, "Is this flag gonna go red, or am I gonna figure out, hey, this was just a one-off kinda thing?" Chris's other one word, this is a great one word, and, he said, "My one word is conundrum." A conundrum is a difficult, hard to solve, and often confusing problem. I would like to introduce you to the Nashville Predators lineup. Yeah. Well, Chris, you have done a great job of kicking off what we're going to talk about in the next segment, and that is the confusing problem. Emma and I are going to look at the Seattle game, talk about some specific problems that we see, and we're going to try to solve this conundrum by offering Andrew Brunette maybe a few solutions. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. If you are looking forward to seeing the Predators play better this season, or if you just want to go out and make some great fall memories with a live event, you've got to check out the deals at Gametime. Gametime is the fastest and easiest way to get tickets for your favorite sports, music, theater, and comedy. They have this great new feature on Gametime right now called Gametime Picks, and it makes the whole ticketing process even easier. Gametime Picks goes ahead and filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. So you're not going to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Right now, Gametime has great deals on sports tickets for Nashville SC, the Tennessee Titans, and of course, they've got seats available for the Nashville Predators. Gametime has a low price guarantee, and they have the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections and you can watch the winnings roll in. It's the way daily fantasy sports should be played. It's not you against 1,000 strangers. It's just you against the PrizePicks projections for your favorite players in your favorite sports. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy that so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return with PrizePicks, your picks are still alive. Look, we know the Predators lean big time on UC Saros to protect the net, so why not include a more pick on Saros saves as the Preds keep rolling? So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNHL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive that $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Check it out at PrizePicks. Run your game. So, Emma, as if last night was not as, totally fun, just want to point out that tomorrow they are back at it again, hosting a team, the Edmonton Oilers, in the Stanley Cup Finals last season. Now, Edmonton, I will say this, Edmonton's been a little rough out of the gate as well. So this is going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a game where both teams are really going to want to get the win. Of course, on tomorrow's show, we're going to preview that game. But right now, we are still tackling the conundrum of the Seattle 7-3 loss. Sweet Mary and Joseph. So you touched on something right away. You talked about these line changes, and I am with you. And our insiders are feeling the same thing. Talking about the scramble. Midway through game one. And we've seen it in each of these games. The more they do it, it's almost like the worse they look. What did you think tonight before the frantic line shifts in the third period of, Cole Smith with Marchessault and Stamkos, and kind of what did you see as the game went on?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. There wasn't, again, aside from that Jankowski, Novak, Evangelista line, there really wasn't any line that stood out to me that looked particularly strong and cohesive. Like I said, every single touch of the puck seemed frantic, scattered, fumbled, bungled, whatever word you want to use. I just think it looked, again, they looked a little frantic out there, and like they were constantly chasing the puck and not able to hold on to it. So to me, I can't really say that I thought the Cole Smith, Steven Stamkos line looked especially bad. I mean, I'd say none of the lines looked especially good, to be honest with you. So, it's just they look a little lost right now. And I think that, again, I mean, I can't speak for them, but I would imagine part of that has to be the constant personnel changes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought tonight, and I would say in the first 3 games as a total, I've been looking for more from the top line because we know it's going to take time to get Stamkos and Marchessault going. But we really haven't seen that top line operating even the way we saw in training camp. And again, training camp is a different beast than an in-season NHL game against, an NHL caliber opponent. And so I understand that, but you need that top line to carry the team a little bit offensively until you find the right key to unlocking these new players that you've added, and you're not getting it from the top line, and you aren't consistently getting it from your bottom 6, and it really becomes this, what do you do with it? And I get Andrew Brunette trying some different things, but at some point, do you think he's going to go back and just build chemistry, like say, hey, you know what we need more than we need a spark, we need chemistry?
Well, that's what I think he was maybe alluding to post game after Seattle when he said, "Yeah, I've been shuffling the lines and maybe it's been too much. I don't know." I'm like, "Yeah, no, let's go back to that. Maybe it has been a little too much." Also, I think, going back specifically to the top line, I would agree with you. They have not been, on one hand, you don't want the team to be carried by one line the way
No,
that they were last year.
no.
But on the other hand, while the rest of the team is struggling, you want to be able to rely on that line to be like, okay, you can kind of lift us up when we're down. I think we need to, again, I'm not throwing this in, I'm not throwing this line in the trash right now after 3 games, but I am just saying let's perhaps brace ourselves for the possibility of what, a lot of us kind of thought could happen is that either specifically Gus Nyquist is the one I heard a lot, but like Gus Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly, could have a bit of a regression this year. And that could lead Andrew Brunette to say, hey, maybe we want to think about splitting these guys up. I'm not saying that's for sure happening because, again, it's been 3 games, but I'm saying we need to brace ourselves for that possibility because, again, that line was going to give you your best chance to score. But now, if they're not even doing that anymore, then what are we doing here? So I think it's but on the other hand, I do think that there's something to be said for the fact that the line that was the best line was the one in the Seattle game, was the one that has spent the most time playing together, and that
Right.
was the Novak Jankowski Evangelista line. So I think that one thing I will say is that the players that we talked to after the Seattle game, Michael McCarron and Brady Shea, both were visibly very frustrated. Especially Brady Shea. And you could tell that it was like, all right, we got to get over this as soon as possible. They both acknowledged that, hey, this happens. It's a long season and we can't win every game. Literally no one has ever done that. So it happens. It just sucks when it happens right out of the gate.
Gosh, yes.
And they just know, you can tell they're starting to get impatient and they're like, all right, we know this happens, but like, let's get through this. Let's get to the other side of this right now.
Yeah. And we, like you said, heard from Michael McCarron after the game. This is what McCarron had to say when he was kind of asked like, hey, what's going wrong? What's not working? This is what he had to say.
I still don't think we played up to our capability throughout the first 3 games so far. I think we have a lot more to give as a group. I think we can be, like I said, a lot harder on pucks and win more puck battles. I think as a group, forwards, D, I think we can play a lot more predictable and play within our system. I think if you remember the start of last year as well, it's kind of the same thing creeping in at the start of this year where we're not trusting the systems and we're not playing the right way, so to say. So I think as a group we're gonna have to figure it out here, and we'll get this group. I have confidence in this group, and we'll get us going.
I think that was such a interesting statement from Michael McCarron about trusting the system. And man, it felt like last season Andrew Brunette kind of dragged them kicking and screaming by the collar into a place where they understood what I am asking you for will get you what you want. It took a long time to get there. And I don't know that any of us felt like we were going to go back there. But again, it's one game. And that may be something that we see something very different. We see them going back to kind of their roots, but it does feel like they're doing too much. Like they're getting away from their roots. They're forgetting who they are. And there's a part of me that wonders if there is this, we have to be fancy now because we have 2 new very shiny toys, 3 new shiny toys. I don't ever want to forget Brady Shea. And expectations are so high. And so we need to look a certain way. We need to play a certain way. No, you don't. You need to put the puck on net. You just need to put the puck on net. Like there are no style points in hockey.
Oh, there was so much. Again, like, we all hate that guy,
We
the
do.
one guy in the crowd that's just screaming, "Shoot it!" But that is all of us right now. We are all that guy where we're like, "Guys, come on." Like,
Yes.
eventually, you gotta shoot the puck. And it just to me, they almost looked a little timid, like they
Mhm.
were afraid to get in there. And, again, it was, I was thinking timid, scared. I thought McCarron's answer there was really, um, really insightful when he said, like, we're not trusting the systems. And I do think that, again, it's like we talked about this before. It's the caliber of these players that you brought in, and the impact that they're expected to have on this offense, particularly. It's just it's going to take some time. And I would like to point out that of those shiny new toys, who was the first one to score a goal for the Predators? Not
Yes, that
Steven Stamkos.
ignored no, the
Not
ignored
Steven
middle
Stamkos.
child.
Yes, not Jonathan Marchessault. Brady Shea
Brady
with
Shea.
a 4-on-4 goal against Seattle. Buried a
Yes.
rebound from, I believe it was a Philip Forsberg shot. So, and those are the situations where he really thrives, I think. 4-on-4 or 5-on-4.
Yeah.
You'll see him kind of come in the clutch there. But talk to him after the game as well, and he said, hey, that was cool and all, but would much rather have a win than that
Yeah.
goal right now.
Yeah. Coming up, we're going to talk about the stat that Nashville probably still has ownership of in the league, and it is not one that are going to give them bragging rights. We'll tell you what that is coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. This is the most wonderful time of the year if you are a sports fan. Major League Baseball getting closer to that championship. The NFL well underway, and the NHL season has kicked off. The best place to celebrate all of that great sports action is with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NFL fans, you can kick off your season with a big return at FanDuel. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's a guaranteed $200 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the action. You can see the latest stats. You can view live play by play and so much more. And that's all going to be on the same page where you place your bets. So check out the sports details and great deals at FanDuel. That's fanduel.com, America's #1 sports book. All right, Emma, the Predators 0-3. We know they are not first in the Central Division, but friends, they are first in something, but it's not going to feel great. Nashville has given up the most odd man rushes of any team in the NHL so far this season. Woof. That
And
is
it
not
felt like
ideal.
they gave up all of them in that Seattle game. I tell you, that's why I needed dogs and snacks. So while I was watching this game, all of the odd man rushes, my lord. And that's why I said my one word was defense question mark, because it was like, listen, UC Saros wasn't given much of a chance at all with
No.
defense in front of him, or lack thereof, I would say. It was, I mean, we've been talking about the offense for so long about, okay, they need to start clicking. They're not cohesive. They need to score goals. They've Seattle scored 7 goals in one game. The Predators have 6 goals through 3 games. So there's that. But
Yep.
yeah, to me, in this particular game, the Seattle game, the offense was a problem, but it wasn't the most glaring problem
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
that game. That was the defense.
UC Saros needed snacks and dogs last night
Yes.
because he had nothing else. He was looking around with Kraken coming at him in their awesome jerseys, best jerseys in the NHL, looking
So
around
sick.
going, anyone? Bueller? Anybody? Is anybody here? And it's frustrating because yes, we talk about UC Saros as a slow starter. This game was not about UC Saros being a crock pot, not a microwave. This game and his stats in this game were about the fact that he was hung out like spring laundry by that defense in this game. And it's that inch and a mile. If you're going to give a team a 2-on-1, they're probably going to score on it. If you give them a breakaway, they're going to score on it. Brady Shea, after the game, said, somebody asked him like, what was happening with these breakaways? And he's like, we're not taking care of the puck. The other thing he said that I thought was very interesting is he said, part of it is we are forcing plays in the O-zone. And when you force those plays in the O-zone, you are immediately going to pay a price in the defensive zone if you are not super careful. And last night, the Predators not super careful. And this, man, Emma, this was, again, it's only, I'm speaking to you, Insider Matt. I'm talking you off the ledge. This is only game 3. We have 79 more games. And it's going to take time for this to come together. I think what made last night so hard is that the problems that we saw are problems that are identity problems. And you don't want to be sorting through identity problems right now. I want to ask you about Juuso Parssinen. Got his chance in the lineup finally last night in the game in Seattle. He's been a healthy scratch the first 2 games. Had a really good camp. I thought he had a great training camp. I felt like he was one of the timid players maybe last night's game, which is disappointing because he is a player whose skill set, when he plays not timid, he really can affect what's going on the ice.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it was his line. He was on the 4th line with McCarron and Sissons. That line was on the ice for Seattle's first 2 goals. So you start out with a quick -2. It's not great for the confidence when you're a young guy and you're playing in your first game of the season with line mates that you're not used to. It's just the perfect storm. They did, kind of grind it out to get one back there. McCarron scored the first goal. Parssinen had a really nice, backhand assist on that. You think like, okay, that was good. Step in the right direction. Then they grind out another goal. Again, the bottom 6 at work. That was Tommy Novak, Mark Jankowski, and Luke Evangelista. But, then obviously things just fell apart. But for Juuso Parssinen, it wasn't his best showing. I think that, you could see that we've talked about this before, that Andrew Brunette tends to be hesitant to trust his younger players with a lot of responsibility. And we started to see that. Parssinen played, I want to say, I think he only had 2 shifts in the second period. He maybe had 2 more in the third. Like, we hardly saw him. And that's it. Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, how is he supposed to get confidence if he doesn't play? Like, of course that's going to give, I don't know. It's hard because I'm rooting for the kid. I know that he was raring to go. He really, I had a talk with him the morning before the Kraken game, and told me some things that I won't share here, but he was definitely, he was ready to go. And maybe that is, kind of a result of that. Maybe he was a little too eager, chomping at the bit, and then, that comes back to bite you. But I do think it's one game. I hope that he doesn't get the hook immediately before the Edmonton game, but I guess we'll see. I don't know.
This is another one of those things that you wonder, okay, Andrew Brunette, What is your thought process, and is it working? Because, we're talking about trying to find a spark versus building chemistry on lines. But I also think when you look at young players like Phil Tomasino, like a Juuso Parssinen, there are two sides to that coin too. And one is, hey, I don't trust them, and so I need them out of the lineup, or I need to kind of give them less ice time and less opportunity until they earn my trust, versus you are going to play timid if you feel like this is it. Like, I've got to come out in this game and prove it. And I think, man, I don't know that he had his best game. I don't think he had his best game. I know he didn't have his best game. Juuso Parssinen has a much bigger skill set than what we saw in the Seattle game. I think you could say the same thing about every other person in a Nashville Predators uniform. Far better skill set. And so I think perhaps it could be detrimental to yank him and keep him on that short leash. And I think there are two sides to that coin that maybe, as a coach and a coaching staff, Andrew Brunette and staff maybe need to weigh out. And, and I'm sure that they do, but it's like, gosh, you might want to just check in. Just check in on that for us. Just check in on that for us. Yeah. Yeah. 4 goals in the third period. Also not the way you want to finish a game. You don't want to give up 4 goals to a team. They said ahead of the Dallas game, if you give up 4 goals, you're going to, not be able to win in this league. Well, when you give up 4 in 20 minutes, it's really bad. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you give up 4, imagine giving up 7. Crazy.
Yeah. Even worse. Like, we may not be as good at math as like Spencer Stastny, but even we know that 7 is worse than 4. So here's what we know going forward. This is only game 3. The Nashville Predators have to get back to what got them success last year, and that is finding that identity, kind of getting back to that hardworking, greasy style of play. We also know that they've got to turn it around quick. Edmonton comes to town tomorrow night. This is a game that both teams are going to want to win, and we're going to need to see just some changes with the Nashville Predators. So let's wait and see what happens. Again, maybe game 4 of the season is going to be something worth watching. I don't know, Emma. We're just going to let us sit in this Seattle loss for just a few more minutes, and then we're all going to collectively turn the page.
Yeah, listen, cheer up, because we've got the winless Edmonton Oilers coming to town. And those guys never play well in Nashville, especially that Draisaitl guy. He sucks. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Do you know, in 26 games Leon Draisaitl has played against Nashville in his career, dude has 25 goals and 17 assists. Like, could you just not leave your wallet at home? Leave your wallet at home, Leon Draisaitl. But yeah, we'll dig into all of that in tomorrow's game preview ahead of Edmonton. In the meantime, grab yourself some snacks, grab yourself a dog, feel better about the Seattle game. We're going to turn the page. While we're turning the page, Emma, where can everybody find you and your work?
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can actually tonight find Emma and I together again, reunited on 102.5 The Game for Penalty Box Radio Live. She is going to join me on the show tonight again, that's at 102.5 The Game at 8 p.m. Central Time. Feels like 9 p.m. because it's past my bedtime, but we're going to be great. You're going to love it. So tune in to that as well. That is going to do it for this somewhat painful episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are going to be back tomorrow to turn the page and to preview the Edmonton Oilers game. We'll see you then.